All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the NAV Lab. Today we have our guest for his second time, Landon Pasley. We decided to bring you a very special episode today. In the Christmas spirit, I wore my full outfit, and Landon
wore
his Christmas sweater. Not Christmassy sweater, just the sweater he wears on Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little confusion.
I almost wore a very Christmassy sweater.
Okay.
But I put it on, and there was a huge stain in the top right here, and that's like directly where I assumed it would not look good. So I decided not to wear it.
We've also got some other guests here today, and
We do.
If you guys might not know, but there's always people kind of sitting around the room when we're shooting the podcast. But yeah, Landon, at least your mug wore a sweater.
Yes. Yeah. So because I didn't have a Christmas sweater to wear myself, one of them I had shrunk in the dryer, so I decided to just put it on the mug.
That's actually your sweater, and it fits your
sweater.
mug now.
It fits my mug now.
Nice.
I've grown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, so want to talk a little bit about real estate in the market, kind of what's going on right now. What are you seeing out there? I know the big news recently is rates have been dropping, and they announced that they are planning to drop rates a few more times in 2024. You out showing clients? I know you had some showings earlier this week with some high dollar clients. How's that going?
Yeah, I figured we'd get into the market at some point in the podcast today because things have changed. But also I'd like to talk about what I feel is the stability of the market and what we're going to see over the next year or two. With my clients currently, rates have not been an issue because sellers are more motivated. So we've been able to get rate buy downs or 2-1 buy downs where sellers can pay to lower the interest rate anyway. And the rates are more stable. So having a 6.5 rate, having a 6.5 rate right now, being able to move it to a 4.5 with a 2-1 buy down. Are you coughing over there? Are you okay?
I'm choking. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, you shouldn't be smoking that in here.
As the coffee got me. Yeah, not to interrupt you, but we just got this coffee.
Yeah.
It's called the world's strongest coffee. It's called like something death. It's like liquid death, but coffee version. Dude, I drank my first cup yesterday, and my lips started twitching like all day. I was like shaking. Yeah. So
is it just coffee?
Drinking it again.
Just
see
coffee?
what happens.
That's
Yeah. Keep going.
No, okay. Just let me know if you need
I know we
go to the emergency room.
Coffee button.
Yeah. No, we're just talking about current clients getting better deals on rates because of buy downs. So I have someone right now who's going to end up with a 4.5% rate because we have a 2-1 buy down, and the rate was going to be 6.5. So that's pretty good. And then I've recently closed a USDA loan, which is a whole nother subset of loans that not a lot of people know about. And we closed at a 5% without any buy down. So it's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
So,
what lender did you use for that?
Direct through the Department of Agriculture. So you can get direct loans through them. There's a lot of companies that do USDA loans as well, but it's not necessarily direct from the government. But if you go through the government to get it, it takes 2.5 months. Like, it takes a very long time, but you get, it's almost free. Like, it's just so cheap.
So was this like a farm or just a normal house?
No. So you can actually go to the United States.
Do you have to own chickens?
No, none of it.
Okay.
None of it. This is a home in Evergreen, very close to Evergreen Lake.
Okay.
You can go on United States Department of Agriculture website and look at their USDA housing map tool, and you can see what areas are included. You can buy a home in Evergreen, you can buy a place in Castle Rock, or really anywhere in Douglas County, even Littleton, as long as it's slightly outside of the city or outside of city limits. Okay. But most unincorporated areas or something like that, you can do a USDA loan and get and just buy a normal house and it doesn't have to be on land. It can be in a neighborhood as long as it fits the boundaries.
Yeah. So if you were going to go through a lender, not directly through Department of Agriculture, can you close faster? Can you get similar rates, or is it better rates if you go direct?
It's better rates if you go direct,
okay.
But you can get better rates than the national average for a conventional mortgage. You can get better with USDA loan as long as you qualify. There's some I don't know all the qualification requirements. I just know that you have to jump through more hoops and you have to wait longer because it takes longer for the government to approve these loans, especially when you're dealing with them directly because they do so many and they have so little employees. So,
and you have to own chickens.
You have to own chickens.
Yeah. Okay. Do you own any animals? Like, I know you have some pets, but
I have a couple of kids. Yeah.
A couple of kids. That's oh yeah.
I do have a couple dogs too.
I'd love to have chickens. We eat so many eggs, and they're so expensive right now.
How do you cook them?
Scramble most of the time. I have a bunch of elk right now, and so the past couple of nights we've had ground elk with rice. That's like our meal for dinner every day because like it's super easy to make rice in the Instapot, and then we'll do either ground bison, ground beef, or ground elk. Mix them together, and then my wife will do an egg over easy on top. Cover it in soy sauce and sriracha, mix it all up, and then I have leftovers for lunch the next day, and that's like
I would like
pretty healthy.
Some of the elk, please.
Yeah, I want to have a big cookout. So
we should.
I have 200 pounds of elk meat right
that's
now.
Amazing.
So yeah.
Did you make any jerky?
No jerky, just steaks.
Have you had any of the steaks yet? Just straight?
Oh yeah, that was the first thing we cooked. We cooked a bunch of those already. Tons of ground, and then I'm gonna make a roast on Christmas Day for the family.
That's so cool. Do you have a lot of people coming in town, or what?
A lot of people here. My wife's family.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna have a couple friends who are sticking around, and then I think there's gonna be like 20 people total. So pressure's
That's
on to make the roast, and I think we're gonna get a ham and stuff. But
nice.
Yeah, sticking around here for Christmas. I'm assuming you're gonna stay in town.
Yeah.
I mean, with young kids and Santa and stuff, Santa comes down your chimney, so you can't really travel. I never really thought about that. And we're trying to have kids, so we're probably gonna be sticking around for Christmas for the next little bit.
Yeah, they don't worry about it yet because my kids are so young, so they don't quite understand where he comes from and all that stuff. So it's like we can be anywhere, but
does anybody know where he comes from?
No. But if you've seen the movie Santa Claus, even if you don't have a chimney, he can get in, right?
He can.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
He just grabs the bag and it lifts him up into the air and takes him into the house through whatever opening, just like the movie.
I recently put in a fireplace and a chimney in my house, so now my kids can actually celebrate Christmas. Before, how's he getting in?
He would come in through like your dryer vent.
The dryer vent.
Dude, have you not seen the movie? He holds the bag over his head. He gets pulled up in the air, and then it magically his body conforms to whatever the size of the shape is. So it was a dryer vent sticking out of it. Yes. The dryer vent's like sticking up and it's like this big, and it makes his whole body squeeze down into a tiny tube and go.
Now, as a realtor, is this code compliant that someone can fit through your dryer vent?
Not someone. Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, he's not really real.
Well,
a real person.
He's magical.
Okay.
So when you have magic on your side, you can do anything.
Some of my clients believe in magic. I think they want to offer $100,000 under list price with 5 offers. That's magic.
Mm-hmm. But their dreams are always crushed because it doesn't work that way.
Well, kind of like when I was 5 years old and I found out about Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
My dreams were crushed.
I'm sorry.
Do you ever be on showings and your clients bring their kids?
Mm-hmm.
So what I kind of play like babysitter type. I don't like that role, but a lot of clients just like will go in the house, they'll start doing their thing,
And the
they
kids are just
let their kids roam.
Yeah.
And it's always you like hear a noise and you're like, what the heck? So you find in the house there's always like another kid's bedroom, and that kid's in there just got the Lego models just zooming around, and you're like, oh my God.
Don't break that.
Yeah.
That's the Mandalorian.
I've had to like pull my clients aside and be like, hey, get your kid.
I am normally the cause of some issues whenever the kids are in the house.
Oh yeah, you're egging them on.
Yeah, like, well, there was candy, a whole bowl of candy out in this one house recently, and it was just out on the table, and it was vacant, so it was obviously there probably from Halloween, and they probably did it from an open house or something. And the kids were there, and the little boy was like, "Hey, can I have some of that?" I was like, "Would your parents let you have it?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I gave him some, and because he couldn't reach it, and then he opens it, and he just opens it like this. It was a bag of Skittles, and he just goes, boom, and all the Skittles just went everywhere. It was bad.
And then did he eat them?
Yeah, he picked them all up off the floor, and his parents were like, "Pick those up. Where did you get those? How'd you get?" And I'm like, walked in the other room.
Yeah, you're like, wasn't me.
So, and the same house with the same kids, there was a piano, and he was like, "Can I play the piano?" I was like, "Would your parents let you play the piano?" He's like, "Yeah." So I open it up. I'm like, "Can you play?" He's like, "Yeah." Boom, 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 boom. And his dad's like, "Stop it!" Like comes in. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and you're just standing there like.
I was like,
I told him.
I don't know. I thought he knew how to play the piano.
Has he like ratted you out because you just keep egging him on, getting him in trouble?
Nope.
Nope. Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's
cool
like
kid.
a mutual agreement. You let him do stuff. He doesn't get you in trouble when he gets in trouble. Yeah. I had these one clients. They actually didn't buy a house with me, but I showed them like 20 properties, and they gave
Love
up.
that.
I hated it because it was down near where you live, and it's a far drive,
Out to the burbs.
Yep, and they brought their kid, who was like just old enough to be running around causing a ruckus, right? And this little brat, I hate to call him that because he was sweet, but he turned on the fireplace in the house while like I'm kind of watching him. I'm kind of talking to the parents at the same time. And then he goes and does whatever. The parents are like, "Oh, the fireplace works." They were like stoked. They're like, "How did he turn it on?" It had like a light switch on the side of it. And then like 2 minutes later, we just hear him scream, and I like look over, and he's got both hands on the front of the fireplace and just burns his hands so bad. And I apologize that I called him a little brat, but
he doesn't know how to take his hands off because it just hurts too bad. So it's just stuck there. How do I make this end? Yeah.
It honestly was horrible. Like
that's
he
awful.
really burned his hands. And I'm just like, am I gonna get sued? Like what? Like
Are you liable?
Who's liable in that situation?
The homeowner.
The homeowner, right? Yeah.
Blame it on them.
Yeah, you should have turned your gas off.
You never know when a kid's gonna come in and put their hands on your hot glass.
I think we're responsible.
I think we are.
Yeah. I don't know if we're responsible from the seller's perspective. So I think, I don't know if we get sued or not. Who gets sued?
Hope not. You'll find out. That's why they didn't buy a house with you, huh?
Right. Yeah. Then other people's kids have been okay on showings. Some kids are actually respectful. Some kids just have an iPad and they just they don't talk.
They're done.
They're just in their world.
Yep. They are out of reality.
Cool. Well, do you have any contracts right now?
Yeah, I have a couple under right now. Coolest thing recently, in one day as a real estate agent, I made my old salary from when I was working in a corporate position. So one day as a realtor made my entire salary for the year, which is like a really humbling thing, and just made me have more gratitude for what I do. And I mean, yes, it was months of work. It was a lot of work to get to that point for that one payout where I had multiple closings in the same day, and it just all happened at once, and you work for months to get there. Because I also had 2 months before that where I made, very little. So, but it was still eye-opening, and I'd never done that before. Or at least it was the most I've ever made in one single day with closings. So
how much volume?
It was paid out to me. So gross commission is just, if I just told you the amount of commission it was, is like nuts, because then after that I had to pay for the leads, right? Pay for the brokerage split. And then, after that, I still have to pay taxes on it and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, the cut to me that hit my account after paying the brokerage and paying for the leads, because 2 of these closings I had to pay for, it was like $46,000. And that's what I used to make yearly before getting into this career.
What were the home values?
It was a 1.13 and then a 900 and like 940. And the 940 was just a condo, which was crazy, but it was beautiful. Overlooked Cheeseman Park. Really
both
cool
were Zillow leads?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. One of them I've had for a very long time though. So.
Okay. Yeah. So you didn't pay the flex fee?
So for one of them I didn't have to pay a large cut because it was one that was purchased a long time ago.
Okay. Cool.
So,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I've had, I don't know about particular days, but I had a month where I made 3 times my salary before before I started doing real estate. The month of June 2021.
Yeah.
2021, definitely my best year in real estate by far.
It was a good year for a lot of people.
Pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tough year too. But I had 1 month where I had 12 closings, and a few of them were $1 million houses, and there was a lot, like mostly referrals too.
Yeah.
And it was nasty. It was awesome.
Oh,
it
man,
literally,
I can't even imagine.
That month changed my life forever. Like, I paid off all my debt. I went from like, here's my life now to here's my life after this month of income.
That's amazing.
It was like I won the lottery, basically. Is what it felt like. But I didn't sleep. I was freaking out. I looked up how many showings I had like the 60 days prior, and it was like 300 and some showings. It was insane.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal to think about. It's amazing the amount of money you can make in this industry, but you have to put in a lot of work and a lot of hours that. I don't know. It's like you're working for 24 hours straight for 6 days a week out of the 7-day week, and you do that for a month, and then you have payouts like you couldn't even imagine, and then you have to start over again. Yeah. So it's amazing what we can make, but it's also, I don't think people understand how much work it is, especially if you're a good realtor who takes care of your clients.
Yeah.
And when your client feels like there's no one else they would rather work with than you is a really good feeling too. But I'm sure, if you're getting referrals, that's how they felt about you. It's like they wouldn't even dream of talking to somebody else because they know you're going to be there and you're going to show them 100 homes or 10 homes, and you're going to give them honest advice. You're going to connect them with everybody they need from every step of the way. You're going to make sure that they're not up at night worrying about all these dates and deadlines that they don't even understand because you do. And you save them, like on that recently that I told you that it was like 1.13, that we got like $150,000 off the list price. When you save your clients that kind of money and they're like, they were thinking about using someone else and then they decide to trust you, and then you save them that kind of money and you get the phone call that's just like, they couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Because
they were ready to pay another $70,000, and you're like, no, we can do this, and here's why. And you like go over and above to win their business. And I recently had a client close on the third place that I've helped them with, because they got married. They sold their places individually and got married and came together, and I met them, and it was exactly 1 year from the day that I met them. I was at their wedding, and I had helped them sell 2 homes and buy 1. And it's like this beautiful picture of how if you treat your clients well, you make sure they get the house for the right price, or they sell their house for the right price, and you do the right marketing, and you negotiate well on their behalf, and you make sure the home is safe for them, and you are just there every time they need you, and you're immediately when they need something, you're there. You end up being really good friends, and you're at their wedding a year later, which is like just such a cool feeling. So can't do that in a lot of industries, so it's enjoyable.
Yeah. So we September 1st, we're at a wedding in North Carolina of my clients who I helped buy a house a couple years ago.
Yeah, I knew you went to that wedding. I didn't know that it was for a client.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Matt was also there. So through me becoming friends with my client, Matt became good enough friends with the client that he was also at the wedding.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And then Mark, who you met recently,
Mm-hmm.
we met him at that wedding.
Nice.
And then hired him to
That's
help us
awesome.
out.
Yeah, this was Matt Garofalo's, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know Matt.
Yeah, only because now we're in the fantasy
We're in a
football
fantasy
league
league,
together.
yep.
So everybody, we all. It's like you become like this little, I don't know. You get a new friend group by just helping someone buy a house, and then
he was a referral from a guy I went to high school with, and I don't talk to one person that I went to high school with. What was that? So it was just kind of a funny story that this guy hit me up. I've talked to him in like 15 years, and he's like, "Hey, I got a referral. They're super cool." I'm like, "Awesome. What's their number?" Called him, talked to him, knew immediately. I'm like, "Oh, this dude's cool." And then him and his they were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. No, I think he flew out. He's coming in from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I showed him a few houses, like hit it off. Or I think actually the first time we met at a bar. That's like, that kind of like set the tone of like, okay,
we're good.
We're building not just a business relationship, but like you don't know anyone here. We're the same age. Like we have very similar interests.
Yeah.
We've been to Red Rock. Like we took them to Red Rocks and they got lost.
Oh, man.
We were, we were drinking, having a good time, and they'd never been to Red Rocks before. And they're like, "Hey, we'll be back." And then they're like, "Hey, we'll meet you at the car." And like they went to one side of the mountain, and the car was on the other side of the mountain. And we like couldn't find them for like 2 hours after the show was over. And then we just like we're driving around, and
man,
yeah, it was pretty fun.
Driving to Red Rocks and trying to find your car afterwards, it's very difficult. Yeah. If you've never been.
I've got it down to a science at this point after.
You've been there several times.
So many times, yeah.
The first time we went, it was awful.
The first like 5 times I didn't know which lot was what. Yeah, they've been doing construction up there too. It's awful. Anyway, so Matt has become a really good friend, and it's interesting. I mean, I've got my wedding. I invited 2 other clients. They didn't come. He came. He was at my wedding, right? That was probably about a year after. But it's nice to build those relationships. And I think that's like the name of the game, It's like you're in the game of building relationships. I look at it as I'm the network, and I want to connect to everyone, right? So if you're a homeowner, I'm going to be your network when you need anyone, a contractor, a plumber, if emergency, if shit hits the fan, you call me, because I'm also a problem solver. That's a huge part of my job is I'm solving problems. And if something comes up, if you need to sell or buy, obviously I'm that person, but I'm going to connect you to your accountant, to your dentist. Like I've got all those people. So something I recently did is I sent out like my referral partner list and a Christmas card. So for the last I've got this hand injury. I don't know if you guys saw on recent podcasts, my fingers were taped, but I've been writing cards, and I wrote 100 cards over the past week. And one point I was going to make too is I went through all my past clients and I narrowed it down to 100 of people that I still want to stay in touch with.
Your VIP list.
Right. There was definitely some people that I was like, never want to talk to them again. But for the most part, everyone I did. And, brought back a lot of memories of helping these people and also made me feel that I need to get way better at keeping those relationships. You know what I mean? So I went to ChatGPT and I was like, help me write a Christmas card to my past clients. I'm a realtor, right? And it spat out something. I was like, okay, change this word. To eventually okay, I copy pasted it. Then I made it my own even more. And so I got this really great message, right? And short, right to the point. And so I started writing it, and then I realized every single client I had like a personal connection with, right?
Uh-huh.
So I needed to be able to get this done. You know what I mean? Like, it was taking a long time, like to write it all, to put it in the envelope, to lick it, to put the stamp on it, to put I copied you, so I made all labels for all of my clients' addresses. I made my return label with the NAV logo on it. Like,
nice.
I had this whole thing organized, and I like put the time into it. So now when I do it in the future, it's going to take way less time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's taken me a long time. It's taken me like 3 to 5 minutes for everyone, because I'm like, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm getting distracted, just ADD to the max.
Yeah.
You hear me talk long enough, I definitely have ADD. And I'm drinking the strongest coffee in the world. But
hey, man, I don't know.
So I start to write in things like, I hope your daughter's doing great, whatever it is, throw their kids' names in there. And it was just interesting of like, I think with Zillow and with our leads, it's really easy to just run 1,000 miles an hour and just claim leads and just constantly fuel your business, and not look backwards and look at the people that you have relationships with, and continue to keep those relationships and grow those relationships. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if my past clients are giving me referrals, and they do, but I don't do anything to get those referrals, right? It's just like I gave them a great experience, and I'm hoping now that I set the tone for every time they meet someone who wants to buy or sell or know someone, that they're going to refer me. And that happens, but I know I'm probably missing out on a ton of business.
There's like 3 types of clients. There's one that will just love your service and recognizes how good you were at what you do, that they're going to just go out of their way anytime they hear the word real estate, or I got to sell my house or something. They're going to like run across the room to make sure that person gets your number, and then text you and tells you about the person or whatever. They're like like the A-list people that are just going to go after people for you, because they recognize your service and they love you as a person. So you have that. I think you have that individual. Second, you have the client who would, if it comes up and it's their friend and they're sitting on the couch talking about selling a house, they're going to mention you because you did give them phenomenal service, but they're not those type of people that are outgoing enough to be like, you have to do this. Like there's those types of clients too. So you may get a referral every now and then from them because they bring it up if it comes up, because they did love your service, but they're just not they're not outgoing enough to go and get you business. Yeah. And then you have the people that are just never going to refer you, even though you did everything you possibly could have. You were the best that you could be. They don't do that ever. So
people don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And then some agents. So I'm not the type of person to just hound my past clients. Like I said, I barely even stay in touch with them. But I do say the same thing at closing every time. Hey, my business runs on referrals. So if you know anyone who wants to buy or sell, please send them my way. I'd love to help them. And if you ever go to buy or sell again, I want to be your agent for life. And I say it kind of in that way, but I want them to understand that, like, hey, please give me referrals. I used to pay out a $500 referral fee. And I've thought about bringing something like that back. I don't know. I think that's legal. I'm pretty sure it's legal.
I don't know. It's a touchy subject. I don't think it is.
Yeah?
I don't think you can give out cash money. I don't think.
Gift cards.
You could probably do gift cards.
Yeah. $500 Visa gift card. It wouldn't be cash, for sure.
I bet you could do a Visa gift card.
I would do a Visa gift card.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This was back in the day when the laws were different.
Yeah. We'll have to read those requirements again. I wanted to, and then I looked into it as much as I could. Like, I wanted to see what I could do. And I looked into it, and just seemed like anything that was any type of monetary reward was just not. It was a gray area, though, because if it was home related, so if it was like a gift card to Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that, it was it would be fine because it's a gift that, and I don't know, it was kind of weird. So but I do feel like there's a way to do it right and do it where you're not doing anything wrong, because what are they going to do? Get you in trouble for taking care of your clients?
Right. Are they going to tell on you?
Yeah, well, if
my realtor gave me $500.
Right. If the Department of Regulatory Agencies wanted to come in and shut that down, and they come after you, it's like, well, all I was trying to do was take care of my people. Like I was trying to do good. I wasn't trying to do bad. Right. And I have a referral awards program now, and it's not monetary. There's basically at closing, the way I do closing gifts and the way I do my referral rewards program are the same. And so they get introduced to it at closing. And it's, hey, this is my referral rewards program. Here's a link. I want you to look through it. And at closing, I like to give meaningful gifts. Like, this is a big deal, and I want this to be meaningful for you. So please just go through this list and tell me what you're most interested in, and then I'll tailor it to what I feel best for you. So it's meaningful for me to build it for you, and also for you, it's actually a gift you'll want to receive. I'm not just going to get them a cutting board anymore. Like I don't do that anymore. So the list has several things. One is like an experience package. So it's a night out, dinner for two, chauffeur, black car driver, like black service, tux, whatever. And that's one. Like, they can do an experience, go out to dinner. They don't have to drive. They just get taken there and back and whatever. And that's fun. Or they can do like a gear package, like outdoor gear. Since we're in Colorado, right? So it's just, nice snow jacket, gloves, whatever they're into. If they're into snowboarding, it'll be try to tailor it towards that, or just a wine and local food basket. So like local stuff. So Palisade or whatever, wherever I can pull stuff and make a nice little basket and send it. Or art, like local art. I've had recently two people in a row have they wanted something local piece to put in their home. So I say, like, you send me a picture of your space and I'll try to get you a piece of art that's local. So
you get your wife to help with that one?
No, she actually doesn't. No, This is all me. It's important to me to give good gifts. I really like giving good gifts.
Yeah.
Like
I know she's good at like decorating.
Yeah, she's incredibly good at decorating and all that stuff. And I will bring her in as soon as I'm like, I can't figure this one out. Okay. So recently they've been very easy because it's just been two people. They sent me a space, and then they sent me like their stuff that they are into, and I'm like, okay, I'll just pick something out.
What's your budget for this? Is it different for every client?
Yeah, it's kind of different. Roughly like 500 or more sometimes, because I'm very, very interested in referrals now. So, and that's part of it. I'm saying like, hey, I'm getting you this awesome closing gift, and I'm giving you an introduction because it's a link to my referral awards program. So after they pick a gift, then at the bottom there's a form. Anytime they want to send me a referral, they fill out the form, and if I get the referral and I help that person buy or sell a home, that person gets an amazing gift, and so do they. They get to choose a reward again. Okay. And there's all these cool rewards. I mean, I'll even do like a ski pass for somebody or something like that. There's all a list of cool rewards, and every single month, and I send a monthly newsletter to my VIPs that says, hey, this is the most recent updates in the market that I think everyone should know if you own a home. And this is also another request for reviews or reviews and referrals. So the link goes to both. So it's like, if you haven't left me a review, please leave one. That helps me get more referrals. And then if you haven't sent me anybody this year, I rely on that. Shoot me somebody. Like, all you have to do is click this link and fill out the form, and I'll give them a call, and I'll be as friendly and I'm not going to be pushy, just like I was with you. Like, and that's how I've gotten most of my referrals in the last 6 months. So
nice. Are you training your mentees, your Padawans on the ninjas?
My ninjas?
Yeah. Are you
NAV ninjas?
Yeah.
Yes, but they're all at a stage right now where it's all about the basics. So right now, the 7 people I'm training, there's only 2 or 3 of them that are ready for things like that, and that we talk about things like that, and the rest of them, it's like, no, we're working on the basics.
Yeah,
you revert back. Sense. You revert back to like your most natural, like easy. You revert back to what you do in practice, just like when you're playing baseball.
But do you think? I mean, I know a couple of them have contracts. Should they start right away?
Yeah, I think they should. And that it plays a role. It can play a role in your business immediately. So they're all going to introduce things like this, and they all have their own, like everything that I do to brand myself, they have access to, and they can use it to do it themselves. And they basically, it's like copy and it's like templates. They just are able to redo it for themselves. So they all have access to a referral rewards program link like this, and I'm going to make sure all of them know how to use it. I don't think I've really got there with most of them yet.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you know, you've taught them an inch of a mile.
Right.
Right. And it's the oh my gosh, I can't even think of what it's called. That's it's not Darwin. Something's curve. Right. It's basically, as you become more of an expert in something, you realize the more you don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, when you first start learning something, your knowledge is going up. But then all of a sudden on the chart, it goes down and then back up, because you realize after you've been in it for so long,
doing everything wrong.
You think you're an expert, but there's, you know, you don't know more than you know.
Right.
Dunbar's curve, that's what it's called. So look up Dunbar's curve if you want to see a little infographic. Maybe we could throw it over the video. I don't know if we can do that yet, but Dunbar's curve, right? So, and that's something like, you know, I've been doing real estate for 8 years now. And I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, there's still so much that I don't do, that I don't know. You know, I feel like I'm an expert, but then, you know, some days I'm like, am I an expert? Right. Like, so I'm training some agents that have been in the industry for 30 years, right? They have way more experience than I do. They've worked in different states. They've run teams. You know, they're just new to our team. So I was recently coaching them on our contract, which I think I'm a super expert in. That's probably the number one thing I'm an expert in is the contract, because I've read it a million times. I know all the updates. I'm very plugged into our Colorado contracts. And she was asking me questions that I was like, geez.
That's a good question.
That's a great question. I don't know. You know, and it's humbling. A lot of times in real estate, you know, my answer to clients in particular is I don't know. Because I'm never going to lie to them. And, you know, it doesn't bother me, doesn't make me feel like any less of an expert to not know something, because at this point I know that there's going to be lots of questions I don't know the answer to. But when it came to that, I was really kind of thrown off.
Right.
So
like that's
the past few days I've been just like figuring it out, you know. I had some questions for some other agents, and just, you know,
Did you finish your commission update course for the year?
No, but I bought it.
Me too.
My plan is to do it over the next few days. I bought a bunch of courses, actually. Social media course.
Nice.
So I got to get my CE credits up.
Yeah.
Probably it's about time. But yeah, cool. Would you have any good plans for Christmas?
We're just staying home. We have my in-laws coming into town today, and then it's gonna just be a nice time at home. We got the kids, the presents, the tree. And then just a few people from my wife's family, and they're just going to stay with us, and we're just going to have a good time at home. So it's going to be hopefully some rest, and be able to focus on the family for just a few days. And then whatever my clients need, you know.
Right. I was going to say, I have a client text me at 7:30 this morning. I haven't heard from him in almost 5 years. I happened to buy a house about 5 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
In a nice neighborhood for $350,000. It's like a 5-bedroom house.
Yep.
5 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's probably worth $800K now. Yeah. But he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, I want to buy some land." I'm like, "Cool. Where are you looking? What's your price point?" He's like, $1 million. I want to buy it soon. I want to be within an hour and a half of Denver.
There you go.
He's like, "Is that helpful?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Is this where I should send the properties?" He said, "Yep." And so
let's do it.
I'm like, cool. Let's go.
That's awesome.
Let's go look at some land. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing. So he said he bought a $350,000 house. We're $700 or $800 now. That it just blows my mind. It's been 5 years. What do you think about, or like, what's your outlook on the market moving forward from now to 2, 3, 4 years from now?
You know, probably it's been about 4 years now. But Megan Aller, who is our premier data economist, market information lady in Denver, she's amazing. She said for the next 7 years, our home values are going to increase. That's what she said. And so it's been about 4 years. And I would say definitely for the next 3 years, home values should continue to go up. We don't have the inventory. So supply and demand, it's very different. People talk about bubbles in 2008, and it's different now, right? I do think we are going to hit a recession. They'll admit it's a recession. In 2024, they've kind of just been pushing it off, fudging the numbers. I talked about it a little bit on the last podcast. Wasn't extremely confident in what I was saying, but after I said it on a podcast, I went back and I'm going to double down. I think we've kind of been in a recession. I think the economy is not as great as what the government's saying right now, but we could still have a soft landing. I think the dollar is kind of screwed. I think, a lot of these prices we're seeing are definitely here to stay, and inflation is not over. It's going to continue, and it's going to be not great. But
you think inflation's going to increase next year?
Yeah.
I don't. I would have to disagree with you there.
Really? I think inflation is right now still going ham.
There's two things that I would say. One, if the numbers we see are not true.
So the jobs report, right? Let's talk about that.
If the numbers are falsified, like you said, it could be. I mean, we don't know for sure. But if the numbers we see are not true, then everything that I think about the market is not true either.
So jobs. So two things I'll bring up that I do know to be true is the jobs report, right? Saying we added 200,000 jobs in the past month, right, of data. I think the number is 83% of those jobs were second jobs people got to afford their current bills.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, yes, we added jobs, but they were second jobs, so people could make more money to afford inflation.
Well,
right.
Yeah, and also, the most recent reporting shows that inflation is down.
Right.
It shows that unemployment is down. It shows that wages are up, right? And it shows that the average salaries and wages have increased faster than inflation over the last year. It shows, and the Fed has announced rate cuts, and they actually confirmed those rate cuts for 2024 for at least a short-term interest rate, which
election year.
Exactly. That was one of the things I wanted to get to is this being boosted all because it's an election year and it's supposed to look really good?
Yeah.
Or is there some truth to it? I can say what I have. I can speak to the feelings I have with the clients I work with, and I think there's a lot of pent up demand. That I think there's a ton of people who have been waiting because the interest rates have been high.
Right.
And that's like their number one decision-making factor in their purchase is when interest rates are low, I can afford to borrow more, so I can get that house that I wanted. So, to me,
I agree with you 100% there. I think that's true, and I think that's why this spring's about to go ham if rates drop.
Even if rates don't drop, my feeling is that people are so tired of waiting. And there are a lot of people out there, at least that I'm dealing with, that still have money, still have safe jobs, still have a means to make the purchase happen. And it's just there's so much of that pent-up demand, and people are starting to get comfortable with normal rates. Right? And so I don't even think rates have to drop much. The 30-year average rates are better than the 30-year national average right now.
6.8% is the 30-year average.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was like 7 or something, but whatever, that's the same.
6.8.
Yeah, it's the same. Still, so that means rates are slightly better than that. And if that's true, and people get comfortable, and rates are even stable and don't even drop, I think more people are going to come back to the market.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to look back on this time period from now till the end of February, before things really go off in our seasonal market, and they're going to look back on this time period, December through the end of February, and they're going to say that anybody who bought a house then was a genius, because appreciation is going up for the next 7 years from what one of the economists in our local area says, right? But then there's other economists that predict the same, that house prices are going to go up, especially if the numbers that are being reported by the federal government are true. If the numbers being reported on unemployment, wage growth, and inflation, if that stuff is real, no way housing prices are not, 15% higher 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah.
So to me, I think it's a great time to buy a house, and there's actual reasons to back that up, right? That we've just talked about. It's not just like I'm a realtor saying, now's a good time to buy a home because I make commission. It's because like if I had the means right now, I would be buying a home, and maybe I am buying another home very soon. Maybe I am buying a rental property very soon.
I just bought one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great time. I really do.
I definitely do too. So the one thing I'll mention is what I said on the last podcast. So basically the past month, and I researched a little bit more into this, and disclaimer, I'm not an expert. You should not take economy advice from me. Real estate advice,
I'm
definitely.
an expert. I'm an expert.
Just
kidding.
My sweater says defund the HOA, so that makes me an expert.
All
but
things.
so basically everything that they use to calculate inflation, right? From trade to government spending, to the cost of goods and services, to jobs, all that stuff, right, is put into a report. And really what it comes down to over the past month, inflation is actually about 5%. And they said it was 0. And do you know how they made it look like 0?
No.
Because what they also count in that report is government spending, government debt. So 5% of that total was a negative 5% because of government debt that they took out. So they increased what equates to 5% of total GDP debt, which counterbalances. Yeah, it doesn't actually in real life, but in their numbers it does.
Wow.
So that's how they're able to call it 0, because of all the debt that the government has taken out, right?
Yeah,
so
the stuff I've seen is like 3 or something, but I didn't read that, so I don't know.
Yeah, and then they also, so every month they also, so they give the current numbers, and then they update numbers from the previous month. So that's 2 things to look for, because really they have to do more calculations. You don't shut the door.
Yes.
Taking a quick pause, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me settle back into this comfy chair here.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, we've added more to the national debt. We've added trillions of dollars in the past few months, more than we've ever added.
I don't even want to think about that.
And that's factored in. That's factored into inflation is the national debt as well, and how much we're adding to it. That's what I'm getting at. Is like the Fed and Powell and all, they can fudge those numbers because they calculate those things. It's very interesting, and I mentioned this last time. I follow an economist, and I'm watching his videos every day, and he's talking about this stuff, and he's on the news all the time. But something that came up in my podcast with Josh last week is, when you're watching the news, they bring 15 people on, and all 15 people have a different opinion. So, one of them are going to be right, and 2 weeks later, when one of them were right, they're just going to continue with that person's narrative, They can't be wrong if they have someone.
15 people.
Right.
Yeah. That's the thing. Economists are so different in their predictions, too.
Yeah.
And some of them will never give you any realistic and specific numbers, or some of them will just never make a definitive statement. And some of them will. Some of them will give you something, a very bold statement, like housing prices are going to fall 7% in 2022. Like someone might say that statement. And then others might say, let's look at the factors. And there are several reasons why this could happen and may happen. It's just way less definitive. So it depends on the economist you're talking to. I think the best ones are able to be right even when they're wrong by not giving definitive statements.
Oh, yeah.
Or the ones that make the most money.
That's sales, baby.
That's sales.
I mean, do the same thing in real estate, right? I'm not going to speak in definitives. Everything I just said, like I'm not an expert on. It's just something I read and heard, and something I'm inclined to believe, because the person who said it came with receipts, and was able to present their case, and I can't argue with them.
Right.
Now, I didn't look for a counter argument, but one thing I will say, so one of our viewers of the last podcast called out something that was untrue, that was said. So I want to kind of set the record straight there. Basically, it was said that before 2020, interest rates were in the 5s on their way up to 6s. Actually, it was much later, 2022, before interest rates got in the 5s. So just want to throw that out there, that actually kind of the norm was in the 4s before 2020, when rates really dropped, and then they didn't actually get into the 5s and higher until 2022. Last year when things started, probably like July last year when things started to kind of hit the fan after post-COVID.
Well, that's another thing to say. Does anybody really want to go back to that? Does anybody really want housing prices to fall? All the people that say we're in a bubble. I've heard something recently. I heard someone say we're in an interest rate bubble. And that fired me up. It's like, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
That's not a thing. So anyway, we could talk about that for a long time. But what I do want to say is, does anybody want to go back to March 2020? Or does anybody want to go back to the housing crisis of 2008? Or does anybody want to go back to the dot-com bubble, or any of the things that actually made housing prices fall dramatically?
Right.
Nobody wants that. And it's going to take something like that. It's going to take COVID. It's going to take like something that's a national emergency for housing prices to fall, and for, not even housing prices to fall, but for interest rates to dive down like some crazy low number. The only time interest rates do that is when we are in a national emergency, like when something very bad is happening.
Yeah.
So I would be incredibly surprised if interest rates fall dramatically, because we don't have a situation like that right now.
Right.
So, and it just doesn't happen unless we do. So that's why another reason why I think people are going to get more comfortable with 6% rates, or even if they do go to 5, that's still not bad. And people are going to get back into the market, and housing prices are going to continue to surge, and you are going to be kicking yourself if you do not buy a home, if you can afford it right now, and you try to wait 2, 3, 4 years when you feel like the interest rates are going to be better. You're going to be so upset with yourself, and then you're going to be so upset with everybody you see online that did it, and you're going to be those comments I see on my posts, or on other realtors messaging and posts on whatever platform. You're going to be one of those sad, depressed people who feels like you have to bring others down, who make those amazing decisions for themselves and set themselves up for success. So I don't think anybody wants to be that person.
Yeah.
It just happens. So don't do that. Instead, if you can afford to buy a home, do it now. Do it before everyone else realizes that they should be doing it as well.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I think you're going to be sitting here for a couple of podcasts. I am headed to Japan for the month of January.
We didn't even get to talk about that. We'll talk about it when you get back.
That's my tradition. I go snowboarding in Japan every year, but
Japanuary.
That's what they call it. Japow. But thanks for coming on the podcast. Always a pleasure to talk with you and hear about the things you're doing, especially in your business, and the things you're doing with your mentees and coaching people on the team. Thank you everyone for watching. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out, helps us grow. We are going to start having different guests from around the real estate industry in Denver and elsewhere come on the podcast in 2024. Some exciting things to come, and hit that like button too. That'll help us in the algorithm. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one soon. Peace. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah. Happy all the things. Happy anything that you celebrate. What else is there?
Wow.